Alright everybody, and welcome back. So today I want to go over a few key pointers that you may be interested in, and that is how is the real estate market being affected by coronavirus, what are the different sectors that are getting affected the most, and how can we deal with this problem. So coming up right now, stay tuned. Okay, so the first group of people who really are going to be affected by coronavirus are going to be those who are renters. Now, why are renters being affected the worst? Well, renters are really one of those people who, more or less, if you're not going to be able to pay the rent, you're kind of at the mercy of your landlord. And essentially what's going on is that a lot of states and a lot of counties, cities, it really varies on what area you're in, but a lot of these places have been imposing restrictions on evictions, which makes sense. I mean, if you can't pay your rent, where are you going to go? So the problem is it doesn't exactly exempt those people from that missed payment in the long run. So once the period of time, the emergency period, whatever, is over and people can be once again evicted, they're either going to have to pay or quit, which is standard procedure with most rental properties. Now, my issue here is that it doesn't really solve the problem, it simply defers the problem, which is an issue for a lot of people because, just because you put off your rent doesn't mean that you're going to be able to pay it. So that really is a concern to me, how people really may not be able to pay these amounts, and deferment doesn't really solve the problem. So we have to come up with a solution that allows people to actually pay these fees, but also not be kind of shoved into a corner, essentially find a way out and just have to quit, which is not really what we want. So the second category of people that I wanted to address would be obviously landlords and property owners. Specifically, let's go to those who own their property as a primary residence. So these people, the main concern is obviously going to be mortgage. Now, why is this a problem? Well, obviously you have to pay your mortgage. So how are people going to pay the mortgage when they've either lost their job, had cut hours, or are laid off or furloughed? Essentially, the main issue is back to the point that we have less income. So we're not able to pay our mortgage when obviously food and family and health are going to be the #1 priorities in a lot of people's minds. So where do we go from here? So we have to consider a few things, but one of them is essentially deferring the payment. So there's multiple options being offered by banks at this point in time, and one of them that's very common is called forbearance. Now, forbearance essentially is not the same as forgiveness. For any of you who didn't know, a lot of people may be kind of confused with the difference between these terms, how it affects you, but essentially forbearance is not forgiveness, but it's basically deferment. So when I said forbearance is essentially deferment, I quite literally mean it. So let's say that right now we're going through some hard times, okay? You lost your job, you have cut hours, or we have restrictions due to coronavirus that are not allowing us to work and produce the income that we used to be able to government regulation. So, where do we go from here? Well, the bank is going to be like, we'll give you forbearance for 3 months, 90 days, let's say 6 months, 180 days, for example. The problem with this is that you still owe that amount when the term is over. So what makes you think that just because you couldn't pay this month means that you're going to be able to pay 3-month mortgage payments in 3 months? You see, the problem really is that as we get closer to that 3-month forbearance period being over, you're going to have to pay those 3 months of mortgage all at once in a lump sum payment. So instead of, let's say, $4,000 a month, you're going to have to pay $12,000 up front. Now, the silly thing about forbearance, in my opinion, is that because of this situation, if we don't get back to work ASAP, and I mean ASAP, and we start working, everything just magically goes back to normal, which I highly doubt will happen that fast. There's no way these people are going to be able to make those payments. I'm sorry, it's like, I understand that if you have a disruption for a couple weeks max, you might be able to take 1 month forbearance and then pay it back, or do that 3-month thing and kind of manage your money to pay off the 3 months at once. However, the problem with this is coronavirus, and these restrictions are going on and on and on. We don't have any end in sight. So the problem with this is that when the 3 months are over, I don't think a lot of people are going to be able to pay it. So we need to come up with better solutions, and I'm sure that banks, the government, they're going to come up with certain solutions for a lot of people, because at this point in time, based on how long these things are dragging out, forbearance is going to be a serious problem for a lot of people. And I think really as us as homeowners, as renters, as investment owners, I think the biggest thing we can do is really just understand the risk and then take steps to mitigate as much as we can, and basically just play it safe and just understand and gain as much knowledge as we can on the situation. Now, the final class of people who I want to talk about are going to be investment owners. You've heard a lot of things about how They're going to put a moratorium on rents. However, the problem from this, though, is because if there's no moratorium on mortgages for investment properties, our issue here, once again, is it's sort of unequal. You know, a lot of the premise of investment owners is that they pool their income to pay that mortgage from the renter. Now, when there's no renter, there's no income. And we run into the same problem as people who own it as a primary residence, where if you can't pay the mortgage, you're going to start running into some problems. Obviously, you know, a lot of people are going to recommend you should have some months saved up of that rental income for situations like this when there's a vacancy. But it still doesn't address the issue that we have, which is that the coronavirus is extremely disruptive. It damages business, and it damages the real estate market and pretty much every other market out there in different ways. So we have to take steps to address this, understand this, and find solutions, you know? And that's really what we're here to do. But I think before we do all this, we really need to understand as much as we can about the problem if we are to take steps to amend it and to hopefully finally solve it. So the other half of this video that I kind of want to go over is, what are we in? Are we in a buyer or a seller's market? Well, beforehand, at least here in the North Bay, California, San Francisco area, it seems to have been more of a seller's market in a lot of ways. You know, property values were going up. People were, you know, having a lot of leverage on the seller side. And there's quite a few multiple offers. It looked like buyers were scrambling to buy in-demand limited properties. So in a way, sellers had a one-up on buyers in many ways and in many situations. However, now I see things may be changing a bit. You know, mortgage restrictions are supposed to be tightening up a bit. So higher credit scores, higher down payment minimums, and also you're going to have to basically provide proof that obviously you have employment. I went into trouble again because, well, a lot of people are not going to be able to prove their employment. If you lose your job right before the underwriter goes and basically verifies your employment, we got a little issue. So a lot of people are not going to be able to qualify for mortgages that they may have been able to do so before. And a result of this is basically that you know, there'll be less mortgages and people will not be able to qualify as easily. This may mean that we're going to have a little bit less qualified buyers in the market that are pre-approved to purchase property. Now, I see it as that a lot of the buyers may actually have a little more leverage now, though, because those buyers that are left that are qualified and pre-approved and ready to pull the trigger, they're in a good position, they have a job, they you know, they have the down payment, they're ready to go. Whatever's on the market, let's say they find something that suits their needs and they really love a property, I feel like they're going to be able to pool and kind of have a little more leverage versus the sellers at this point in time, because a lot of sellers I know are worried. They don't know how things are going to go, and a lot of people are just wanting to liquidate their property. If they were already planning on selling it, they're just like, you know what, let's get this moving, let's get the funds, and see where it goes from there. But it's better to sell it than to not sell at all, or have that fear that potentially something will get worse and we may not make that sale. So in this situation, I think buyers are in a good position. You know, I think buyers, the ones that are qualified, the ones that can make this work, are in a great position to negotiate some great deals. So as for sellers, I feel like a lot of people are a little uncomfortable. They're not sure where we're going to go with this. So a lot of sellers may be wondering, well, what am I going to do after I sell? Am I going to be able to find another place? There's a lot of uncertainty, and obviously the default mode for people is going to be to go to what's safe. So for sellers, if they're not in desperate need of the money, if it's, let's say it's not an investment property, it's a primary residence, they're not in any serious financial trouble, then they're probably just going to wait it out. So maybe they won't list, maybe they won't put it on the market. I think they're just going to wait it out and play it safe and see what happens with the market. However, for transactions that are ready to pull the trigger, so buyers that are ready to go, they're pre-approved, they want to buy it, they've been ready, sellers who have been planning to sell all along, I think that this may actually improve the ease and the urgency of transactions for those who are qualified and ready to do so. So it's kind of a catch-22. But, you know, I can't guarantee and I can't make, you know, magic estimates about what's going to happen with the market. But I think that we're going to adapt and things are going to change. But I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. And, you know, every single time that something like this happens, we always come out of it to where we were before, if not better. So I think that despite all the fear, we're going to be okay. The market's going to change. Things are going to adapt. But in the end, I think that things will stabilize and we'll get back to normal in due time. What that time frame is, I wouldn't be able to tell you, but I think it's sooner than later, at least for the real estate market. So thank you everybody for watching. I'm going to keep you updated with some, some new videos. I'll post up my other videos somewhere. I don't know where it is, but I'm going to put it up here on my review. And currently, let me let you know what the reading of the week is. So, currently, my book of the week is Originals by Adam Grant. This is what I'm reading right now, and I'll let you guys know, give you a quick synopsis when I'm done with it. Not sure when that will be, I've been pretty busy, but I'll keep you guys updated and tell you this is worth checking out. So, please like the video below, subscribe to the channel, hit the little bell, and I'll see you guys next time. Appreciate it.